Thank you, Administrator, for being here. We are really glad to see you, and thank you, and we're just delighted to have you in the position you're in, my friend. I want to briefly mention a company in my district, Carbonade USA, a company I've met with that is on the cutting edge of turning carbon waste and PFAS into usable products, getting them out of our environment and into products such as sustainable aviation fuel. Administrator, I personally delivered a letter to you and from this company and with some questions surrounding EPA policies on PFAS, coal ash, et cetera. Can you commit, please, that you'll take a look at this letter?
Yes, Congressman.
Thank you very much. And thank you. And now moving on. Under the Biden administration, the EPA received over $100 billion in new supplemental funding through the IIJA and the IRA, the largest investment in the agency's history. The funding created or greatly expanded, one or the other, programs such as environmental justice grants under the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights, an office that was immediately tasked with managing over $3 billion grant portfolio. In 2023, EPA Inspector General Sean O'Donnell testified here that the newly created office could be at particular risk for misspent funds and that the IRA did not allocate sufficient oversight funding. Thankfully, President Trump and yourself are hard at work clawing back funding and exposing waste, fraud, and abuse in the system. We cannot thank you enough for this, and the American people cannot thank you enough for this. We're all taxpayers, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on. Clawing back this waste, fraud, and abuse is important to all of us. We've received pushback regarding EPA's right to terminate many of the grants awarded under the previous administration, particularly under environmental justice programs funded by the IRA. Again, I know that litigation about these decisions is ongoing, but is there anything you'd like to clarify or share with Congress at this point on your understanding of EPA's authority to terminate these awards?
We refuse to waste a penny of tax dollars. We are going to ensure that the zero tolerance policy is implemented. For some of the grants that have been terminated, it's important to note, as I stated earlier, that we're in the middle of a fiscal year. So as Congress has appropriated top-line numbers for different programs, EPA will fulfill our obligations under the law in making sure that money goes out that has to go out, unless we hear otherwise from Congress as we're going through that fiscal year. But one thing that we have zero tolerance for is that there will be zero waste and abuse of even a penny of your constituents' tax dollars.
Not only do I applaud you for that, Administrator, but I commit to you that we will back you up in every way we can in that effort. So thank you for that. As you know, members of this committee have expressed serious concerns about the previous administration's attempts to stand up the greenhouse gas reduction fund, such as giving billions of dollars to organizations led by Democratic political allies to further hand out as they see fit. Initially, the previous administration also decided to use a financial agent to hold these funds, something that EPA's never done before. To your knowledge, has that been done before?
EPA has never done that before.
Has the way the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund programs have been executed or structured made it more difficult to investigate these programs or to monitor the use of the funds in these programs?
Absolutely. $20 billion sent to the bank to give to 8 pass-through entities. Many of those entities were brand new. In one case, Power Forward Communities, for example, received $100 in 2023. They got $2 billion in 2024. In fact, EPA decided to put into the grant agreement that they would have 90 days to complete a training called How to Develop a Budget. EPA, the Biden EPA, felt like the recipient needed to complete a training on how to develop a budget. 90 days to complete the training, yet they could start spending the $2 billion as that timeline was going on, even before they've learned how to develop a budget. Intentionally reduced oversight in the way that the financial agent agreement was drafted, the grant agreement, the account control agreement, and when the money goes through the first pass-through, in many respects, it goes through other pass-throughs. And EPA isn't even a party to any of those sub-grantees. So we're just starting to scratch the surface. There was a congresswoman who just asked the question, said, what evidence do you have? So we start going through the list, and they didn't want, I guess the other side of the aisle doesn't want me to go into any real list. 1, 2, 3, 4, do you want me, I mean, how much time do you have? Because if you want to yield a full 20 minutes, I'm happy to go through all of the specifics, and we're right here going through more, and I appreciate you asking, Congressman.
Well, thank you again, Administrator, for being here today, and thank you for your work, and know that the American people support you and appreciate all of your efforts at the EPA. Thank you, my friend, and I yield back.